Hey folks, I'm the Mysterious JG. Welcome to a new Let's Play on my channel of the classic Infocom text adventure Planetfall. As you can see, it was copyrighted 1983 by Infocom Incorporated. All rights are reserved, etc., etc. This will be the third Infocom text game I've done on my channel. The first was Enchanter, which is one of the first games I remember from my childhood, along with King's Quest II, Broader Buns, The Ancient Art of War, and honestly, as far as PC games go, I can't remember anything else that I was playing at that time. Those three were the biggies for me, and I guess whatever the version of Paint that was out at the time. Other than that, it's Atari 2600 games for me. So, Planetfall is not one of those games that I had. Planetfall is a game that I only came across years later as part of the Lost Treasures of Infocom collection, which I paid good money for. It had 30 of Infocom's best. Later there came I don't remember what it was called, how it was marketed, but it was basically the best of the rest. It was like the 18 or so games they didn't put out on the 30 game Lost Treasures. They put out on a new one that had A Mind Forever Voyaging, which was like, it was odd that for whatever reason Mind Forever Voyaging didn't make the cut for their top 30, but it was on the best of the rest series along with some other stuff, including something that had like a giant octopus on the cover. And basically every Infocom text adventure that was out back in the day was featured on one of those, except Bureaucracy was not on the Volume 1. It was only part of Volume 2. But basically everything except Leather Goddesses of Phobos was available on those, and I have never played Leather Goddesses of Phobos, which is their effort at, as you can probably guess from the game, an adult title, the name, an adult title. Everything I've heard suggests that Leather Goddesses of Phobos was not particularly worth playing. So, but Planetfall, I swear I'll get to the game in a minute, folks, but the first game I played for my channel was Enchanter, because I had fond memories of it. It was, of course, a sorcery kind of game. I mentioned that I might play Sorcerer, the next game in that series. One or two people said they would like to see that. I might get to it eventually, but I decided not to go into another game from that series, but to play some other Infocom games, and that's why I did A Mind Forever Voyaging. And that one is a very unusual type of game, but it's less about going around solving puzzles than it is just basically reading a kind of interactive story. There's very few puzzles to solve. It's mostly just you being immersed in this universe. But the thing that I always associated with the old Infocom games, well, there's really three big genres as far as I could make out, which was kind of fantasy, mystery, and space. So I haven't done a space one yet. I mean, the end of Mind Forever Voyaging, you're like getting on a spaceship to go explore, but it's part of the ending is looking to this future. It wasn't really about that. So this is Planetfall. Planetfall is considered I think it's probably the most fondly remembered of the space games, except for possibly Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is, known as much because of Douglas Adams' fame as it was for its merits as a game in and of itself. But Planetfall is fondly remembered. In fact, you may recall that in Zork Grand Inquisitor, at one point you can look on a computer screen in Antharia Jack's private residence, and there is a screen from Planetfall up, so it's kind of a reference. So it's a very popular game. I didn't own this one when I was a kid. I didn't play it until later, but I remember it being a very fun game. So I'd like to share it with you, my loyal viewers and friends. Planetfall, Infocom Interactive Fiction, a science fiction story, copyright 1983 by Infocom Incorporated, all rights reserved. Planetfall is a trademark of Infocom Inc., release 37, serial number 851003. Another routine day of drudgery aboard the Stellar Patrol ship Feinstein. So apparently this was named after Larry. This morning's assignment and it'll be a little tricky. Zerfall at least has mentioned he likes the text adventures because he can listen to them as on an MP3 player while driving to work or whatever, and he doesn't have to watch. But it is tricky because I'll be reading the screen text and then I'll interject my own comments. And because I'm not doing separate voices, yeah, just be careful. If you're listening and you're not looking at the screen, totally understandable. I wouldn't want to just stare at text somebody else is reading either. It's like a PowerPoint presentation or something. Just bear in mind, I might be throwing in my own comments without thinking about it. So, um, yes, this morning's assignment for a certain lowly ensign 7th class, scrubbing the filthy metal deck at the port end of level 9. With your patrol issue self-contained multi-purpose all-weather scrub brush. Oh, and the other reason I'm playing this now is I was going to pick it up anyway. It was always going to be the next Infocom game I played after Mind Forever Voyaging, but I've been reminded of it recently because of, again, mentioning Zerfall. He's been playing, I guess he's starting, he may or may not be doing the whole series, Space Quest, which features Roger Wilco. I in no way, shape, or form am I claiming that Sierra ripped off Infocom by having a janitor as the hero. It's kind of... It's a logical, makes sense. You want a comical story set in space. You start off with a lowly janitor, but it's just possible they got the idea from Planetfall, and Planetfall definitely came first. I'm almost sure. But anyway, with your patrol issue, self-contained multi-purpose all-weather scrub brush, and you shine the floor with a diligence born of the knowledge that at any moment dreaded ensign first-class Blather, the bane of your shipboard existence, could appear. And, to get off topic one last time, hopefully, at least for a bit, all science fiction was changed forever by Alien, the film Alien, in part because, while the science fiction of the 60s and 70s had shown the future as this bright, shiny place, Alien showed the future as like a kind of dingy, like basement industrial place where like blue collar workers griped about not getting their bonuses. And when you look at science fiction that followed, everything was either kind of aping Star Wars or aping Alien. Like you can go watch old classic Doctor Who episodes and you could really feel the influence of Alien in the way that the one-shot characters will be going around acting like blue collar workers, and this is the same thing. And I think to an extent, I don't know if it's just borrowing from Space Quest, Planetfall, or just that whole spirit of sci-fi with like just kind of disgruntled everyday folks making an honest buck in a world that happens to be in the future. But like Rimmer and Lister from Red Dwarf, very much in the same spirit as the opening sequence of Planetfall. So now let me actually get to the game here. Because when I think of Ensign First Class Blather, he's not a major character, but I just picture Rimmer from Red Dwarf. So our location, Deck 9. This is a featureless corridor similar to every other corridor on the ship. It curves away to starboard, and a gangway leads up. The port is the entrance to one of the ship's primary escape pods. The pod bulkhead is closed. So if we go... I guess we could scrub floor. The floor is a bit shinier now. The alien ambassador from the planet Bloke-Bidden Gordo ambles towards you from down the corridor. He is munching on something resembling an enormous stalk of celery. Oh, it's Peter Davison. It's the Fifth Doctor. And he leaves a trail of green slime on the deck. He stops nearby, and you wince as a pool of slime begins forming beneath him on your newly polished deck. The ambassador wheezes loudly and hands you a brochure outlining his planet's major exports. Read brochure. The leading export of Bloke-Bidden Gordo is the adventure game Planetfall, written by... Steve Moretsky. That's the other thing I forgot to mention. This is the game... I don't think it was the first. I think technically he did... I don't know, maybe he did this first before he worked on that. But this is the guy who famously collaborated with Douglas Adams on the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy PC game. He later did the sequel to this game, which is called Stationfall. He did some other stuff. He did the Spacebar, which was one of my favorite games, which is almost universally forgotten. The ambassador remarks that all humans look alike to him. Let's go up. Gangway. This is a steep metal gangway connecting Deck 8 above and Deck 9 below. You hear a distant bellowing, something about an ensign 7th class whose life is in danger. Down. A high-ranking ambassador from a newly contacted alien race is standing here on 3 of his legs and watching you with 7 of his eyes. The ambassador offers you a bit of celery. Take celery. The ambassador seems perturbed by your lack of normal protocol. The ambassador grunts a polite farewell and disappears up the gangway, leaving a trail of dripping slime. Brush floor. The floor is a bit shinier now. Down. You can't go that way. Up. Gangway. West. You can't go that way. East. Can't go that way. North. South. Up again. Deck 8. This is a featureless corridor leading port and starboard. The gangway leads down into the forest, the hyperspatial jump machinery. Ensign Blather, his uniform immaculate, enters and notices you are away from your post. 20 demerits, Ensign 7th class, bellows Blather. 40 if you're not back on deck 9 in 5 seconds. He curls his face into a hideous mask of disgust at your unbelievable negligence. Up. You can't go that way. I said return to your post, Ensign 7th class, bellows Blather, turning a deeper shade of crimson. Down. Down. Deck 9. East. Reactor lobby. The corridor widens here as it nears the main drive area. To the starboard is the ion reactor that powers the vessel, and aft of here is the auxiliary control room. The corridor continues to port. Ensign Blather's uniform immaculate enters and notices you away from your post, and yells the same thing as before. West. What I'm dancing around here, folks, is the fact that inventory, we've got a brochure. Drop the brochure. The brochure is not ever useful, and this game does keep track of how much weight you're carrying around. Ensign Blather blocks your way if you try to go to the auxiliary control room. Well, what I'm dancing around here is the fact that there's a plot event coming up. This you'll see it in a second. One of those stupid bloke bidden Gordo brochures is here, unfortunately. Okay, finally. A massive explosion rocks the ship. Echoes from the explosion resound deafeningly down the halls. So there's really nothing important you can do in the game before this event. Down. Unfortunately, one of those stupid brochures is here. Mortis and explosions. A narrow emergency bulkhead at the base of the gangway and a wider one along the corridor to starboard both crash shut. West. Escape pod, because the escape pod bulkhead, we didn't see it because we were not in the room, but it slid open. Escape pod. This is one of the Feinstein's primary escape pods for use in extreme emergencies. A massive safety webbing, large enough to hold several dozen people, fills half the pod. The controls are entirely automated. The bulkhead leading out is open. The pod door clanks shut as heavy explosions continue to buffet the Feinstein. You can obviously get killed here. There's enough ways to die in this game. I don't know and remember them all, so I don't think I'm going to try to showcase all of the deaths. But yes, the ship is being rocketed by explosions, so if you screw up, you don't get in the pod, for example, you die. There's a massive safety webbing here. You need to get into the safety webbing. You can't just stand around in the middle of the pod. Enter webbing. You are now safely cushioned within the web. You feel the pod begin to slide down its ejection tube as the explosions shake the mothership. Z, which is shorthand in Infocom games for weight. Through the viewport of the pod, you see the Feinstein dwindle as you head away. Bursts of light dot its hull. Suddenly, a huge explosion blows Feinstein into tiny pieces, sending the escape pod tumbling away. Oh no, Larry's been destroyed. As the escape pod tumbles away from the former location of the Feinstein, its gyroscopes whine. The pod slowly stops tumbling. Lights on the control panel blink furiously as the autopilot searches for a reasonable destination. Look at control panel. The controls are entirely automated. See, they're doing a fairly good job of recognizing what I'm talking about, even if I'm entering in a command you don't need to use. The auxiliary rockets fire briefly, and a nearby planet swings into view through the port. It appears to be almost entirely ocean, with just a few visible islands and an unusually small polar ice cap. Oh, it's like Earth after the Republicans won the election and... Never mind. Global warming joke. A moment later, the system's sun swings into view, and the viewpoint polarizes into a featureless black rectangle. Wait. Time passes. The main thrusters fire a long, gentle burst. A monotonic voice issues from the control panel. Approaching planet, human habitable. Shugeli Hong. Time passes, time passes, time passes. The bot is buffeted as it enters the planet's atmosphere. And yes, you do have to sit in the webbing waiting until you land. Because if you are... I guess I could showcase that here. Save 1... You feel the temperature begin to rise, and the pod's climate control system roars as it labors to compensate. Get out of webbing. You are standing again. The viewpoint suddenly becomes transparent again, giving you a view of endless ocean below. The lights on the control panel flash madly as the pod's computer searches for a suitable landing site. The thrusters fire long and hard, slowing the pod's descent. Time passes. The pod is now approaching the closer of a pair of islands. It appears to be surrounded by sheer cliffs rising from the water and is topped by a wide plateau. The plateau seems to be covered by a sprawling complex of buildings. Wait. The pod, whose automated controls were unfortunately designed by computer scientists, lands with a good deal of force. Your body sails across the pod until it is stopped by one of the sharper corners on the control panel. You have died. Your score would be 3 out of 80 points. It is day 1 of your adventure. Current galactic standard time is blah, blah, blah. The score gives you the rank of beginner. Oh, well, according to the Treaty of Gishan 4, signed in 8747 GY, all adventure game players must be given another chance after dying. In the interest of interstellar peace, would you like to restart, restore, or quit? Restore 1. We will now stay in the pod. I hit wait twice, so we're going past descriptions we've already seen. Now, the pod lands with a thud. Through your viewpoint, you can see a rocky cleft and some water below. The pod rocks gently back and forth as if it was precariously balanced. A previously unseen panel slides open, revealing some emergency provisions, including a survival kit and towel. Get out of webbing. As you stand, the pod shifts slightly, and you feel it falling. A moment later, the fall stops with a shock, and you see water rising from the viewpoint. Get all. This is definitely a game that will let you screw yourself over by not getting items and then they're no longer accessible. This is the only time in the game I know that's possible, but it's probably possible elsewhere because I do not know all the solutions to all the puzzles in this game, and I probably will be using hints just so that you don't have to sit here waiting while I try to figure everything out. Towel taken, survival kit taken, safety web. The safety web seems to be intended for getting into than grabbing onto. Open door. The bulkhead opens and cold ocean water rushes in. The pod is now completely submerged, and you feel it smash against underwater rocks. Bubbles streaming upwards past the window indicate that the pod is continuing to sink. Up. Underwater. You are momentarily disoriented as you enter the turbulent waters. Currents buffet you against the sharp rocks of an underwater cliff. A dim light filters down from above. Up. Crag. Oh, and you can, of course, drown, but you don't get a particularly great message. You have reached a cleft in the cliff wall where the island rises from the water. The edge of the cleft displays recently exposed rock where it collapsed under the weight of the escape pod. About 2 meters below, turbulent waters swirl against sharp rocks. A small structure clings to the face of the cliff about 8 meters above you. Even an outer-shape ensign 7th class could probably climb up to it. Up. Balcony. This is an octagonal room, half carved into and half built out from the cliff wall. Through the shattered windows which ring the outer wall, you can see ocean to the horizon. A weathered metal plaque with barely readable lettering rests below the windows. The language seems to be a corrupt form of Galalingua. A steep stairway, roughly cut into the face of the cliff, leads upwards. A rocky crag can be seen about 8 meters below. Read plaque. And it's stuff that we can't really read. Oh, actually we can. Scenic vista. This stunning view of the Clamonti Valley covers over 40 square miles of that famous tourist spot. The large building at the bend in the Gulman River is the former provincial capital building. Let's go up the stairs. Winding stair. Oh no! Having a China flashbacks. The middle of a long, steep stairway carved in the face of a cliff. Up again, and we're in the courtyard. You're in the courtyard of an ancient stone edifice, vaguely reminiscent of the castles you saw during your leave on Ramos II. It has decayed to the point where it can probably be termed a ruin. Openings lead north and west, and a stairway downward is visible to the south. Let's try going west. The West Wing. Everyone's favorite TV show. This was once the west wing of the castle, but the walls are now mostly rubble, allowing a view of the cliff and ocean below. Rubble blocks all exits save one eastward to the courtyard. So we'll go back to east. We're in the courtyard. We go north. Plain Hall. This is a featureless hall leading north and south. Although the hallway is old and dusty, the construction is of a much more modern style than the castle to the south. A similar hall branches off to the northeast. So basically, folks, we were on a spaceship as a janitor. It blew up. And much like Space Quest, we don't really have a plot other than just trying to sort of get back to civilization and stay alive. Although at least in Space Quest, there was some kind of threat that blew up the ship that we vaguely were going to come back and defeat. In this game, we're just kind of hanging out. All right. Similar hall branch south and northeast. So we've got north and northeast are leading us to more modern surroundings. We go to north, it's the rec area. This is a recreational facility of some sort. Games and tapes are scattered about the room. Hallways head off to the east and south, and to the north is a door which is closed and locked. A dial on the door is currently set to 0. Let's look at our inventory. We have a survival kit, a towel, a patrol issue self-contained multi-purpose scrub brush, a uniform being worn. The uniform contains an ID card, and we have a chronometer. I don't know what a chronometer is. Look at chronometer. It is a standard wrist chronometer. Oh, it's a watch with a digital display. According to the chronometer, the current time is 57:98. The back is engraved with the message, "Good luck in the patrol. Love, Mom and Dad." Look kit. This isn't a primitive 2-word parser adventure game. If you want to look at that object, please say so. Fuck you. I don't know the word you. Look at kit. This game is all smug about the fact that it's not a 2-word parser. Survival kit is closed. Open kit. Opening the survival kit reveals a blob of red goo, a blob of green goo, and a blob of brown goo. Look at red goo. See, nothing special about the blob of red goo. Alright, let's go east, because we apparently need to figure out some combination to go north of here. Rec corridor. This is a wide east-west hallway. Portals lead north and south, and another branches southwest. So that would take us back to someplace we've already been. We could go north. Dorm B. This is a very long room lined with multi-tiered bunks. Flimsy partitions between the tiers may have provided a modicum of privacy. These Spartan living quarters could have once housed many hundreds, but it seems quite deserted now. There are openings at the north and south ends of the room. North Sandback B. This must be the sanitary facility for the adjacent dormitory. The fixtures are dry and dusty, the room dead and deserted. You marvel at how little the millennia and cultural gulfs have changed toilet bowl design. The only exit is south. Go south twice, we're back in the rec corridor. If we go south again, we end up in dorm A. Identical description to dorm B. And Sandfac A, which is identical to. So we've got a corridor to the north and south that are basically mirror-imaged dorm facilities with bathroom facilities. Let's go east down the mess corridor, or east down the corridor to the mess corridor. This is a wide east-west hallway with a large portal to the south. A small door to the north is closed and hooked with a simple steel padlock, which is also closed. So we can't go north without a key for the padlock. Let's go south. Mess hall. This is a large hall lined with tables and benches. An opening to the north leads back to the corridor. A door to the south is closed. Next to the door is a small slot. Although the room is quite barren, an octagonally shaped canteen is sitting on one of the benches. Get canteen. Taken. Open canteen. Opened. Look in canteen. Canteen is empty. Okay. Like Enchanter, we will need food and water to survive. The only food we have right now, although you wouldn't necessarily know it, you could probably guess the blobs in the survival kit are actually food. And the canteen we can fill with water to carry with us, but at this point we haven't actually found a water source. So we've get card. Taken, put card, our ID card, in slot. The slot is shallow, so you can't put anything in it. It may be possible to slide something through the slot, though. Slide card through slot. Chris Metzen. No, you're not Chris Metzen. You're Steve Moretsky. I'm sorry. A slide flashes incorrect authorization card access denied. Let's look again. Was there any other exit? No. We do not have the proper authorization. Let's keep going down the hall. Dorm corridor. This is a wide east-west hallway with openings north and south. To the east, starts off in the distance. That section of the hallway is lined with a motorized walkway, no longer running, that was probably intended to transport people or cargo down that tremendously long hall. North brings us to dorm D. which does not appear to have any differences in its description. So does Sandfac D. Let's go south twice. A couple times. Dorm C. Sandfac C. So I haven't noticed. We've got 4 different dorms and bathrooms. Haven't noticed any differences yet between them. Let's keep going east. You walk down the long, featureless hallway for a long time. Finally, you see an intersection ahead, corridor junction. A north-south corridor intersects the main corridor here. To the west, the main corridor extends as far as you can see. A non-working walkway from that direction ends here. To the east, the corridor widens into a well-lit area. Let's keep going. We keep exploring east, but going north and south every step of the way. So let's go north. Admin corridor south. This section of hallway seems to have suffered from minor structural damage. The walls are cracked, and a jagged crevice crosses the floor. An opening leads east, and the corridor heads north and south. Save our game. Jump over crevice. Having fun? You catch, out of the corner of your eye, a glint of light from the direction of the floor. Okay, apparently it didn't. I just jumped. It didn't understand that I was trying to jump the crevice because I thought that would have killed me. Look at light. You can't see any light here. Look at floor. A narrow, jagged crevice runs across the floor. You catch at the corner of your eye a glint of light from the direction of the floor. Look at glint. Search floor. There's obviously something here we're supposed to be getting. Look at light. We just did that. You can't see any light here. Okay, so we go east to Sandfac E. Here's another sanitary facility like the others, is dusty and non-functional. A growl from your stomach warns that you're pretty hungry and thirsty. South? No. West. North. Oh, apparently we walked across the crevice. Hold on. The hallway, in fact the entire building, has been rent apart here, presumably by seismic upheaval. You can see the sky through the severed roof above, and the ground is thick with rubble. To the north is a gaping rift, at least 8 meters across and 30 meters deep. A wide doorway labeled Systems Monitors leads west. Jump across. Rift. This is what I thought was going to happen before. You get a brief but much closer view of the sharp and nasty rocks at the bottom of the rift. You have died. So we're still a beginner. Restore. 1. Look, and we have a crevasse. Look at what crevice. Lying at the bottom of the narrow crack, partly covered by layers of dust, is a shiny steel key. Get key. Either the crevice is too narrow or your fingers are too large. So we've got a key that's stuck in a little crevice in the floor, and we can't reach it. We'll have to find a way to, I don't know, dangle a hook in there and pull it out like that way. Like, how would you get your keys out of the sewer? You'd dangle something down there, maybe a magnet. I don't know. How the heck would that work? So we'll go north again into the corridor, which has the actual real gaping rift. And we'll go west to where the system monitors are. This is system monitors. This is a large room filled with tables full of strange equipment. The far wall is littered, or filled, excuse me, where did I get the word littered? With a number of monitors. Of these, the ones labeled Library, Reactor, and Life Support are green, but the ones labeled Planetary Defense, Planetary Course Control, Communications, and Project Control indicate a malfunctioning condition. Look at equipment. The equipment here is so complicated that you couldn't even begin to figure out how to operate it. A growl from your stomach warns you're getting pretty hungry and thirsty. East, south, south, south. Mech corridor north. Entrances to the rooms lie to the east and west from this north-south hall. South. Mech corridor. Enters system rooms lie to the east and west from this north-south hall. Okay, let's go north again and west. In the physical plant, this is a huge dim room with exits in the northeast and southeast corners. This room is crisscrossed with catwalks and is filled with heavy equipment, presumably intended to heat and ventilate the complex. Hardly any of the equipment is still operating. Southeast. Mech corridor, west. Physical plant, east. You can't go that way. It's southeast. Mech corridor, east. Reactor control. This room contains many dials and gauges for controlling a massive planetary power reactor, which, according to a diagram on the wall, must be buried far below this very complex. The exit is to the east. Exit to the west. To the east is a metal door, and next to it a button. A dark stairway winds downwards. Let's not mess with that yet. Let's go south some more. The mech corridor ends with doorways to the southwest, south, and southeast. Let's go southwest. Tool room. Tool operator. This is apparently a storage room for tools. Exits lead northeast and east. Sitting on the floor below the lower shelf is a large glass flask. A small device labeled Acme Portable Laser is resting on one of the lower shelves. The laser contains an old battery. On an upper shelf is a metal bar curved into a U shape. There's a pair of white-nosed pliers here. Well, we've hit the 30-minute mark. We've got ourselves off to a bit of a start anyway. So far, we've come across a couple doors we can't open, including one with a padlock. You'd think that the key in the crack would open the padlock, but I don't know how to get it. Except that we did find a metal bar curved into a U shape. It doesn't say that it's painted red except for the tips, which are painted white. But I have a feeling that that still might be the key to getting that key. We'll find out next time, folks. I'm the Mysterious JG. I want to thank you guys very much for watching, or as it may turn out, listening. And when we come back, we'll have more of Planetfall. See you then. Bye-bye.